Good evening, everyone. I'm Rakhi Gautam from greytHR, the moderator for the session today. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us today. Now, as you can see, the topic for today's session is Overcoming Payroll Hurdles, Strategies for Indian SMEs. Now, before I dive into the topic, let's do a little housekeeping on how the session goes. So the session is divided into two parts. The first part will be the presentation by our expert, which will then be followed by an audience Q&A. So the audience Q&A is where time is all yours, dear attendees. You can start putting across your questions and we will take them up towards the end. Also, the session is currently being recorded. So if you happen to miss out on anything, do not worry at all. We have got you covered. We will share the recording with you once it is done, along with our expert speaker's credentials if you want to connect with him directly. And also, this webinar recording will be available on our greytHR official YouTube channel. So you can always go there and watch it. Now, I think we have the quorum to start the session today. So in this dynamic session, we will be delving into essential skills for efficient payroll management within Indian SMEs, navigating through common limitations stemming from financial and manpower constraints. We will also discover tailored strategies for cost-effective payroll solutions, aligning with SME budgets, along with methods to enhance employee involvement and training. We'll also be exploring the transformative benefits of automated payroll systems and bespoke solutions. Now, of course, I talked about a lot of things, right? So to decode all of that and to share his insights today, joining us is Sanjay Mehta, Managing Partner at iknowate Consulting LLP. Let me quickly take you through his profile. A seasoned chartered accountant and member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Sanjay Mehta specializes in direct tax and international taxation, advising a broad spectrum of domestic and multinational corporations on matters ranging from tax structuring to compliance. With a track record of representing clients before the Income Tax Department and various benches of the Appellate Tribunal, he brings a wealth of experience to the table. His contributions to tax journals and presentations at prestigious forums underscore his expertise in the field. He's a Bachelor of Law from Bangalore University and holds a diploma in Information System Audit and Information System Management. Once again, I welcome you, Sanjay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Raki, for that wonderful intro. Good evening, everyone. So I have a challenging task today on hand, penultimate day just before weekend. That's Thursday, and that too afternoon. So after your lunch and this thing, and everybody would be ready to packing their bags and rushing homes. So, but what I can promise you is that I will try to keep the session very simple and as short as possible so that you guys can leave home at your regular time. So with this, just allow me to share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, great. So today, the topics what we are going to cover is like basically we are going to discuss about the constraints what an SME sector faces in India on the payroll sector, payroll side basically. See, when I say the constraints, there are various constraints which one will share, overcome, like one will face in, once again, I think, just give me a moment. Yeah, okay. So the thing is like, there are various constraints, one which one will face in payroll processing basically. It could be a resource constraint, then it could be even accuracy constraint, compliances constraint, and so on and so forth. And in fact, we do also state one constraint, which is time constraint. So that's the reason we will talk about resource limitations today and keep it to 2 pointers over there. That's manpower constraint and technological constraints, basically. So how I will take you through this is basically I will first speak about the constraint. Then I will speak about the factors or the characteristics what one has to look for an ideal solution to sort out this. So that is how we will take through this particular session. Now, as a slide reads over there, payroll as easy as it gets. Right? Payroll is very easy for that matter. I think now this, yeah. So payroll is very easy for the simple reason that it's just a matter of that you will have to take one gross number, add certain things to it, subtract, deduct some numbers to it, deduct some taxes here and there, and just arrive at a number which is the net paycheck value, right? It's pretty simple. It's max. It's 2 plus 2, 4, isn't it? But the fact is it's not so. To arrive at this 4, which is very simple, 2 plus 2, 4, lot of thing goes in hindsight, basically. A lot of things have to be taken care in the background. A lot of rules and regulations have to be looked into it. So that's the reason what we say is payroll is not easy for that matter. It is, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, it becomes a complex. It's a complex matter to handle, basically. Now, because they face various challenges, which ranges from resource constraint to compliance and so on. Payroll is also a critical aspect of any business for that matter, because this issue cannot be ignored, because it has very huge ramifications. Now, ramifications could be in the form of legal penalties and, more importantly, employee dissatisfaction, which will lead to an attrition problem. And there could be operational inefficiencies. So that's the reason one cannot ignore payroll challenges or payroll problems, basically. Payroll is a very important integral part of any organization for that matter. Now, what are the limitations? As I told you that we'll be discussing about the two limitations basically over here are the constraints. First one is manpower. Now, this question, whether it's an art or science, it's a chicken egg story. Basically, it will go on. It will go on for eternity. But if you ask me, it's basically a mix of both. It's an art and also it's a science. Because at times it becomes an art, at times where you have to handle, it will also be a science. So it's both basically for that matter. See, for our purpose, for the sake of brevity and for ease of understanding, what I will do is I will take illustrations or example of two sectors, that is manufacturing and IT sector, so that you can correlate with what I am going to discuss today. So these two aspects or two sectors will be considering. So now, as far as manpower is concerned, see, in a small manufacturing unit, there might be only 1 or 2 HR at the most who will be responsible for managing the payroll along with the entire HR functions. Now, with a reasonable workforce and complex payroll requirement, like you have shift differentials, overtime calculations, this HR professionals may struggle to handle payroll efficiently. It's quite possible. Now, we will discuss the constraints under the manpower, the first one being the skills required. See, if the skills are very much required by any person to perform his duties or tasks for that matter, even the payroll manager or the HR for that matter definitely needs to have certain set of skills. Now, challenge what we face is the skills requirement will be different from one sector to other sector. That's quite possible over here. See, if you take an example of an HR personnel in the manufacturing sector, he needs a strong understanding of labor laws, taxation rules and regulations, payroll processing procedures, basically, to ensure accurate payroll management. See, what is necessary is not the payroll management, but it's accurate payroll management, which is very necessary. Now, this being the case, this doesn't come easy and cheap for that matter. Now, when you compare this to an IT professional or HR in the IT sector, basically for that matter, he need to stay updated with industry-specific practices, because the practices over here would be a bit different, and related rules and regulations, especially considering the fact that there is a prevalence of tailor-made benefits in this particular sector. Like you have performance-based incentives over here. You have sweat equity. Now, sweat equity again can be in the form of your ESOPs, RSUs, ESSPP, phantom stocks, so on and so forth. So it could be different. So there would be different rules and regulations for each one of this, basically, for that matter. So the continuous training and updations of HR also becomes very important. See, now what is the factors or characteristics one has to look while devising a solution or while overcoming this particular problem, basically, or this constraint? What one has to look into it. First is, I would discuss it point by point. So the first one, what I will take it is attention to the details. Now, what happens is payroll management involves a lot of data. Large volume and large chunk of data is being handled by the payroll manager and HR for the purposes, for calculation purposes. So now this requires a high level of accuracy, and attention to the detail is very much required over there to ensure precise paychecks and tax filing. As I mentioned earlier, just management is not necessary, it has to be accurate. So that's the reason a precise paycheck, you need to pay attention to the details. So this factor has to be looked at. The next is very obvious, it goes without saying, which is knowledge of payroll laws and regulations. So HR manager, or for that matter, payroll processor, should have basic understanding of laws, payroll laws, both of state as well as central. So basically in India, like for example, you can take an example of professional tax, now which is a central legislation, but effectuated and carried on by the state, respective state for that matter. So there are various laws of this kind. So one has to have a knowledge of both state and central laws also for that matter. Now, this is very much required to ensure compliance with tax withholdings, basically for that matter, reporting requirements, and labor laws, because the ramifications of this non-compliance will be huge again in the form of penalties, as we discussed earlier. Now, the next factor what one has to take into picture is time and project management. Now, you would be wondering what payroll guy or payroll manager has to do with time and project management. But you see, the payroll is a periodic process. It has been done most often, you will see that monthly once. So 12 times in a year. And in few of the industries with a seasonal, it could be fortnightly for that matter. So what happens is payroll manager must be able to prioritize tasks effectively so that they can meet payroll processing deadlines. And also payroll managers should be able to manage the dependencies like approvals of seniors, then exception management, decision making in timely manner. So all this have to be planned. It has to be scheduled and taken appropriately. So time and project management is also an important factor for this. Next, it is problem solving skills. Now, payroll manager must be able to solve the problems. He should be able to identify the problems in first place and resolve that. It could be in the form of your variances in the salary. It could be errors, or it could be issues related to employees' pay, taxes, and benefits. So queries will come on flooding from your employee side perspective, basically. But payroll manager should not all the time wait for the seniors or the HR manager or HR head to answer those. He should be able to or capable of handling certain problems on his own, basically. So he has to have a mindset of problem solving, basically. It's good that you have a problem, but you should always have a solution for that. So that is when you will be appreciated. So there has to be a problem solving skills also required for a payroll manager for that matter. Next in line is ethical conduct. Now, this is the most important, or one of the most important, I would say, because payroll managers or HRs are the one who will handle highly sensitive financial data and information. both from company perspective, both from employee perspective, because they will handle even their personal data of the employees. Right? So they have to be very ethical in their conduct. Very high level of integrity and ethical conduct have to be demonstrated by the payroll managers and HR. Now, this is very, very critical. See, what happens is you are in an organization, payroll managers there, HR is there, they work with the colleagues, they are befriending them and all this stuff while they are going in the pantry, discussing certain things. They have to be very careful and mindful of the fact that they don't divulge any important and sensitive information about others over there. You cannot be loose on that particular front. You cannot do a loose talk on that. So ethical conduct is very important factor. Next is effective communication skills and customer service approach. Now, payroll managers should possess effective communication skills for the very simple fact that they will be dealing with the queries of employees day in, day out. So they have to communicate effectively, sort out their problems and issues for that matter. And it could be so that they will deal with these problems. Same kind of problem will come from numerous number of employees for that matter. Or in fact, same problem can come from the same employee repetitively. Possible. Same queries can come for that matter. He can pose the same queries to him. He's not able to understand. That's quite possible. You should not get frustrated on him. Basically, what happens is you should keep something called as customer-centric approach while answering to that particular queries and FAQs for that matter. You should treat the employees as your customer and not just as another colleague who's coming for a query asking and you're just sorting out, because it would be routine for you. For you, it's not one query. As a payroll manager and HR, you would be dealing with it day in, day out. So it is coming every now and then. But for the other person, it would be that particular one query, which another 99 people would have already asked you. So it's very obvious for a human to get bugged up with that and answer rudely for that matter. But you have to be mindful of the fact that they should not be answering them rudely. You should keep a customer-centric approach. How it would have been had your customer approached? Very obvious, you wouldn't have, had he called you 10 times, you wouldn't have spoken to him rudely for that matter. You would have been polite even the 10th time. So that being the case, you have to have a customer-centric approach while dealing with your employees. So the next problem, the next factor what we'll deal is technological proficiencies. In today's world, this is must. You can't, because payroll, I'm sure even the smallest of the company will be using some kind of tech or some kind of tool to deliver their payroll solutions for that matter. So proficiency in payroll software and other related technologies is essential for efficiently payroll processing, obviously for generating reports, maintaining accurate records, answering to the queries of the seniors, higher ups, and giving them the input or feed for their further planning and growth for that matter. So one has to be technological, tech savvy, and at least should know the solution or software, what they use, he should know in and out of that. So these are the factors what one has to look from the point of view of the problem of skill constraint. The next in line is your cost involvement. Now, this is the next, the constraint basically. So what you have hired a person, then retaining him, engaging him, motivating him, of this experienced HR manager or HR professionals or payroll managers for that matter, with expertise in payroll management and other HR areas as required, this can be expensive. No doubt about that. This can be expensive at times because you will not get right kind of skill at low pay, basically. But getting this resource to do operational work of running and checking payroll will lead to increase in cost. Now, how this happens is you hire a HR professional and you are paying him a decent enough or quite good salary for that matter. And you thought no one else is required at that point of time along with him because your work is small enough, he's one enough to handle all this stuff. Now, person coming at that level of pay scale or that kind of cost, what you're incurring for him, and he's doing running and checking of payroll are mundane tasks. Now, what happens is the commensurate resource has not been put to the commensurate of the pay what you are giving. So you have to be mindful of that particular fact. Now, what are the characteristics that one has to look in, or what are the factors one has to look in for this while devising the solution for this? It's very obvious that one has to ascertain the market rates of adequate number of appropriately experienced payroll expert, specifically in that particular geographical location, because this would change place to place, geography to geography. So you have to assess the local market, take the rates which is prevalent over there for the right kind of resource what you require. So in that line, you will have to offer them. The next is what would the, see, one factor what happens is normally when we employ certain certain people, what we do is we just take this salary in consideration. Sorry. So we just take salary in consideration, right? The factor which we tend to forget is basically the estimate of cost of retention, the career growth, and engagement of these resources. So while you are doing are recruiting someone, you will also have to think about the future. Okay, you have recruited one person, paid him handsome salary, fine. If he has got, you required him and you got at a high level, basically for that matter, you got that HR at that levels. You have gone overboard your budget and you have got that HR now. Now, what happens is you will have to be mindful of the fact what next, what will be the next year's salary, whether you can afford or not. If finances can afford that, you will have to plan for that. You will have to take that factor into consideration. And what kind of career growth or career path you can give him is also very important nowadays. And how you will keep him engaged, basically. And now coming to the tools, what you're using for your deliverables, basically, that is your software. Now, it's what you have to take into consideration the cost of the software, its maintenance, and bespoke solution can be ascertained from the local providers of such solution. See, you should, it is good to know certain big names, brand names probably, but you'll like which are the solution providers like your ADPs and so on and so forth. But you have to assess whether do you really require that at that particular level at which your organization is, the scales at what you are running, keeping in mind your financial constraints and other things. So you should always try assessing that way. It's good to have that, but whether at that point of time, whether it's really required is the question one has to answer. So that's the reason you can always start from looking from your local service provider or local solution providers, basically, and then you can scale up based on the need and necessity. So the next problem, what we'll talk about is engagement challenge. So what next? Now, this particular challenge is for any HR, any payroll manager, or for that matter, any employee, not only payroll, HR manager, this thing, it's for any employee for that matter. This is one of the challenge, basically. Now, what is this is you have hired the person, but how to keep him engaged and motivated? Now, what is the factor that one has to look for that? Basically, see what happened is we take cost into consideration and we give salary increase and hike and we see down that will keep him motivated. Yes, that will keep motivated, no doubt about that. But that's not the only factor in today's world. There are other factors also of which we have to be mindful of. And we should think over that also. Now, what is this other factors? It could be like what progression is the organization able to provide to that particular resource? Is there any opportunity for the organization to add depth and breadth to that respective resource expertise? And also on overall basis, the organization culture will play a greater role in maintaining that particular resource for that matter. Now, once you answer all these solutions, probably you can devise a solutions to keep them so that you can reduce the iteration in that HR or payroll managers for that matter. Because more the number of turnover of your employees, the cost will be more, rework process will be more, and it will be going to cost you and lead to inefficiencies in the results for that matter. Now, next in the line is technology now. Normally, what we think is the moment we have a tool or software, So we have a technology on hand. Now that's a magic wand. Basically, what we think is probably we'll dump the data into it, sit back and relax, and we'll get all the desired results and outputs. But what will happen? It's GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. See, these tools or the software for that matter will it will come to your aid basically in payroll processing, payroll management, but it will only support you. It cannot take your place. You have to be mindful of that particular fact. So now, whether technology is a magical wand or not is what we are going to discuss. It comes with its own challenges. Now, technology for complete payroll management, or even for that matter, bespoke solution to solve administrative problems, qualitative, reduction of rework issues, or employer compliances. Now, this is another key limitations which plagues SMEs in India today. Because over here we have chicken and egg story for the reason is that cost vis-a-vis the solution what we have to choose. That's the biggest problem what we face. So what are the issues what we face, or what are constraints over here? Now, if you see many small manufacturing businesses today in India, they still rely on manual payroll processing or outdated software system. That's again due to what? Budget constraints. Now, this manual approach increases the likelihood of errors, delays, and compliance issues. Very obvious. That will happen. These are the ramifications of that. Now, on the other hand, as I said, it's a double-edged sword, chicken-egg story. It's a double-edged sword. Now, implementing advanced payroll software, which is tailored to the unique needs, can again be costly, especially for small firms with limited financial resources. Now, if you look at bespoke solutions or automation options to solve some pressing issues, even this is not feasible due to multiple factors, because small organization or SME cannot spend on this. It is not only cost. So if you have to go for a bespoke solution, probably you have to explain to the guy who's developing it what your problems are, what is that you want, the manner in which you want to get it delivered. It will be both time consuming and resource consuming, and it will be a constraint on you basically for that matter. And very stressful, because first you will have to explain your problem, put it across rightly to that guy who's developing, the developer for that matter. Then he'll have to understand the problem the way you have understood. He has to create one solution for it, and then he has to run for it. And you will always see that there's always a gap in understanding. You told A, but it happened B. So from the cost, yes, it is definitely going to cost you, but there are other factors also for development of bespoke. That is, your time involvement will be much, and it will be a stress on you, because there'll be iteration processes. In that particular time, you could have done other job of yours, and you would have earned over there basically for that matter. You would have put that time across to your business for that matter. So this is again, as I told you, double-edged sword. Now, these are the problems what we face. But while doing any solution, or while like zeroing down any softwares or doing the comparative analysis between the softwares, the factors what you can look in, the characteristics what you can pay attention to is that a particular tool has to be a comprehensive payroll processing. Now, what we mean by that? Now, the system should handle all aspects of payroll, be it pre-payroll, payroll, and post-payroll. So it should handle all these three aspects of payroll basically, including the calculation of taxes, deduction, wages, reimbursement, and again, accurately and efficiently, which is very important. And integration with time and attendance system. Now, normally what happens, you have a payroll solution and you also have a different solution or a different module which can be integrated with this, which is necessary for your time and attendance tracking basically for that matter. If this can be integrated, nothing like that. Why? Because see, integration with time and attendance tracking system. Now, this will enable seamless import of employees' data without any human intervention. So efficiently, the data is being imported into a payroll processing software for that matter. Now, this will lead to a efficient calculation, especially this is important in manufacturing sector where you need to keep a track of shifts, is crucial for working the overtimes for that matter. Similarly, when we speak about IT SMEs or IT sector for that matter, it will required for project-wise time tracking for that matter and input for payroll processing. So it's very important to integrate, and this will reduce a lot of HR or payroll managers' time and lead to greater efficiency for that matter. Next is customizable software parameters, basically. So any solution or any software should have a parameters which can be customized. Now the solution should be customization. What we mean by this is basically the parameters should accommodate industry specific requirements, such as in some sector, some industry, there could be shift differential, overtime calculation, which is very akin to basically manufacturing sector. And there could be variable pays as far as IT sector is concerned. Now, it should also be able to accommodate the growth of the business. Now, as and when the business grows, the system should be able to adapt and catch up with that basically. Today you have 100 number of employees, tomorrow you grow to 250, the system should be able to capture that. From 500 to 800, it should be able to survive that. It should work efficiently and accurately for that matter. And next is compliance management. Now, a lot of data is fed into this particular tools and softwares. A lot of data is there. It is already been fed with that. Now, this software should also be automatically update the tax tables, compliance regulations, basically to ensure accurate payroll tax computation, and legal compliances, basically like your labor law compliances, filing of your periodic returns, withholding returns for that matter from income tax perspective. So all this your software should be able to do. And moreover, now this software should also allow interface of this with statutory filing portals of various state and central government agencies for filing and validations, basically. Now, this is very important because a lot of data is already fed, and if you only process the payroll, it's fine. So data is already there. So reports can be generated. Softwares can be made to integrate with the departmental sites and so on. So a lot of time is saved basically for the HR or payroll processing manager for that matter. So a lot of time will be saved for them. And the data will be efficient because otherwise what will happen is it will lead to duplication. Once the payroll is processed, you will take the same data, then you will churn and munch on that particular data, and then you will prepare the data for the preparation of the compliances for that. And this could lead to errors also, basically. Next is this particular software or solution should be like it should have a self-service portal and document repository. It should act as a document repository also. An employee self-service portal will allow an employee to access their paychecks, tax declaration, statements, update personal information, tax proofs, now so on and so forth. Now, what will happen is this will lead to reduction of HR workload and for HR personnel and repetitive questions which will come, HR involvement. This all will get reduced because it's all automated over there. That's already there on the system. You have to once take them through that. Employees have to be taken through that particular tool. They understand that, and periodic launch of that can happen, and they go and do it for yourself kind of thing can be there, and they can take all this particular data. And this will lead to a greater efficiency in the resource utilization from the HR perspective for that. Now, since, as we mentioned, there is a lot of data already being fed into this particular system, so this has to have a robust reporting and analytical capabilities. Now, this is very important because data is already, as I told you, data is already there. Now, what more you can do from the data, or what more you can extract from that data. Now, this data should be able to provide insights into your payroll expenses, the trends which have been followed in the industry for that matter. How it is going in the company over a period of time? What is the time graph it shows as far as employee cost is concerned? Your compliance metrics for that matter, which compliance have been done, which compliance have not been done. In the past, what was a failure in some compliances, which can be taken care now. And it should also give the data analysis, which should aid decision making and budgeting processes for that matter. Now, since again that I'm saying data is already there, so what becomes very important is security and data protection. The system or the tool or solution, whichever you are choosing or zeroing down, should adhere to the industry and geographic standards security protocols. Now, because every geography will have their own, this is country to country specific, basically what I'm talking about. It will have its own geographic standards of privacy laws, data protection laws, and so on. So the tool should be able to adhere to that. So you need not again spend your time on it because it's been automatically taken care, and certain things to be deployed for that has to be deployed from the organization side, and it's taken care for that. And we should also ensure that data encryption to protect this sensitive employee information and maintain compliance with the data protection regulations for that. Now, the last one, but not the least, after seeing all these factors, you have zeroed down, you have come across one of the solution is satisfying majority of this particular factors and so on. But one factor can still fail that particular tool or for that matter software is user-friendly interface or user-friendliness of that particular software. How user-friendly is the usage or the interface of that particular software for that matter. See, basically a user-friendly interface should be inclusive of latest digital trends. Like it should have something like mobile app, intuitive navigation. It should have something customizable dashboards. So this all feature has to be there in that. Now this simplifies actually payroll management task for HR personnel. And this will be regardless of the fact whether they are technical expert or not. So as I told you, I'll keep it simple and short. I have covered all my points, Rakhi. It's over to you. But before we go for that, can you just launch first poll?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for that very insightful presentation. I'm sure that was very helpful. And I see a lot of people raising their hands while the presentation was on. So if you have any questions, you can start putting them now in the Q&A option that is available on your screen. And we'll take all your questions one by one. In the meantime, we have some polls for you just to understand, the kind of challenges that you are facing in your organization. Let me launch the first poll. Okay, so this is the question. What are the challenges do you face most frequently due to manpower constraints in payroll management? Some 4 questions are there. Now, this is not like a right answer question or wrong answer question. It's just to understand the kind of challenges that you are facing in your organization. So I would request all of you to participate. I can still see some 100 participants with us on this meeting right now. So all of you, please participate and help us understand. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, let's start putting them and we'll take them up one by one.
So we can have the result.
Yes, I just want some at least 60% participation. So I would urge everybody on the call to participate. We already have 50% participation. So all of you, this is for you to understand. So let's have maximum engagement. We talked about engagement as one, challenge or actually, I would not say challenge, but an opportunity that the payroll managers should have, the organizations should have to engage with the employees. So let's engage.
In fact, I will also take this as a feedback that was I able to engage the audience or not.
Definitely. Okay, so we have some 65 participation already, 70% participation. Let me end the poll and share the results with all of you.
Great.
So as you can see, appropriate expertise in handling payroll issues and keeping up to date regarding regulatory changes and impact on payroll. These are the two challenges that our audience generally face.
So major one I can see from the regulatory perspective. Yeah, that's a challenge. Absolutely, that's a challenge because there are various laws in India, basically. There are many laws which people are not aware also. There must be some, I'm not speaking about the new labor code which was introduced just now, but if not, 29 plus what you'll have to handle as far as Karnataka state alone is concerned.
That's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, let me quickly launch the second poll as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another poll for all of you. Let me launch that as well, and I would urge all of you to participate. So the question is, what challenges do you face most frequently due to technology constraints in payroll management? Okay, I think we have the result with us. Let me end the poll and share it with you all.
So 39% giving it for manual data entry errors. The only possible solution for it is to move towards some software automation or software tools, basically. And as I said, you can start with the local service provider, looking for the local solutions which are available. Need not necessary that you go for the high-end kind of thing.
I'm happy to see that security concerns related to data handling has got the minimum votes. So this is great to see that, all the
Rakhi,
organizations.
that's actually in the correlation of the fact that majority of them have not moved to that particular thing.
Automated.
Basically, they have not crossed the line to go towards automation or for that matter tools, because manual data entry errors 39%, they say. Lack of automation leading to inefficiencies 32%. So it has to be inversely proportionate to that, right? So people have not moved and crossed that particular line. So that's the reason I believe the security related data handling is on the lower side then in that particular case.
Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this poll. Now we have some 10 minutes with us for the audience Q&A. If you have any questions, let's start putting them. I can see one question from Shamya Deep Sharma. The question is, what are the basic requirements to maintain a payroll? Is the question that Mr. Sharma is asking. If you could share some insights on this.
See, basically the factors what we spoke about the two constraints, they all are very important for a payroll basically. See, the thing is, what would be the basic is obviously you should have a first structure or the SOP for the collection of the data, and then the processing of that particular thing. It has to be done in a timely manner. It cannot be in a haphazard manner, like even in a small organization with 5 or 6 employees for that matter. You have to build that culture from then and there itself. It could not be happening that every now and then or somebody walks in at some point of time and give his declaration to you. Somebody walks in some other time and gives his declaration. So there has to be a timing sense over it. So there has to be a process and procedure in place for that matter. So that's a very basic and important point one has to follow. And the rest other important characteristics are basically like, as I told you, you should be aware of the regulations in this thing. You should know what deductions are available so that the accurate paychecks can be done. So those are the important points basically.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that answer. I hope that clears your doubt, Mr. Sharma. Moving on to the next question from Swapna. Is there any software that you would want to suggest for automation of payroll MIS reports?
See, it would be wrong on my part if I suggest some other software because we are on greytHR platform. Probably, definitely, we have been using their this thing, so you can definitely go for that, and they have few of that reports and all those stuff, MIS, and maybe there'll be soon. Probably, if I'm not wrong, correct me wrong, Rakhi, over here, if I'm wrong. They'll be opening it up, and there'll be a API modules and all those stuff, so which will help you in your MIS reporting and so on.
Definitely a lot of exciting things coming up, everybody. So stay tuned. I will move on to the next question. There's a question, there's a query actually. Kamlesh is asking if he can ask a question related to income tax. Sure, Kamlesh, if it's relevant, please shoot away your question. We'll be happy to take that out. Okay, the next question is from Zumbia. What skill and knowledge require someone to become payroll and HR expert? If you can share some skills that would make them a perfect payroll and HR expert.
The skill requirement, what we spoke about, those are the factors which will happen. I can just, if you allow me, yeah.
Sure.
So basically, under here, we spoke about the skill requirement, basically, for that matter. So if those factors, what we are looking in, like the person should be able to pay attention to the details. He should be tech savvy, that is technological proficiency, ethical conduct for that matter, knowledge of the local, that is state and national payroll regulations. So, and time and what do you say, time management, project management. These are the skills one should have to become a payroll manager and HR. And most importantly, ethical conduct is very much there. Integrity has to be there because that particular role requires a special skill set for that particular integrity factor for that matter, because which is very important, because you have to be mindful of the fact that you are handling this sensitive data. You cannot, still in India, the privacy law are not that stringent enough. But if you look at European nations and US for that matter, it's very stringent. So this particular characteristics of ethical conduct or integrity becomes very, very important.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for that answer. Also, if you have anybody else who has their questions, you can type your question in the Q&A option, which is available, and we will take your question from there. Okay, moving on to the next question from Hari. Currently in our organization, we have 2 hike cycles. So the employees have to redeclare their income tax 2 times, where we face deduction changes for these employees. How do we overcome this? If you can share some suggestions.
Now, this is very specific to your management, basically. Very obvious, the moment you have a 2 hike cycles, it's goes without saying that administrative work will increase along with that particular fact. See, one way of doing it, you take one declaration at the beginning of the year, and second declaration probably can be at February end or something of that kind, because hike in your salary or something will definitely not change much as far as on your deduction side is concerned, your declaration side is concerned. Very small populations, basically, who come from the lower strata of income or mid, only there you'll find this, even very low percentage, where hike in salary will lead to change in deduction because they will start investing somewhere otherwise, which they were not. So very unlikely of happening, but very low percentage of people what you will have to handle of that kind. So I would suggest to have year beginning declaration and the February and any which ways, if they have to increase that, that will be taken care subsequently, and you can set that right in February and March month's payroll.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for that answer. I hope that clears your doubt, Hari. Next question is, if an employee was released from the company last month and we contributed to his PF by mistake, what can we do in this situation?
Very dicey. Now, the thing is, if you go back to the employee, he will not be ready to give it back to you because it's already come in his account and this thing. See, when you do F&A, probably you can try to settle it over there. Or if possible, you can revise and take it back. That which will be very difficult for that matter. Practically, actually not possible, though lawfully there might be solutions. There will be solutions for that. But I believe in F&A that can be adjusted. That's the practical approach, what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay. I hope this answers your question. Moving on to the next question from Kamlesh. So the question is part 1. Who should be responsible for the income tax declaration and proof of investment. And part 2 to this is, can AI be helpful in this respect?
So I'll take again this in the two part. First is like who should be responsible? Obviously, the first owner's responsibility lies with the declarant, that is the employee. Now, you as an employer, what role you have to play? See, basically, you are going to deduct the taxes. So when you deduct the tax, you have been cast of an onerous duty by the law for that matter. So you are stepping into the shoes of the government for that matter and checking the things and accordingly deducting the deductions and making the payment of the taxes for the people. So you have to be vigilant enough. Having said this, how much you can go behind, like he has submitted declaration. Can you go and vouch whether that is correct declaration or not? See, prima facie, yes, you can. You can vouch that whether things are matching or not matching. If some bills for reimbursement comes from a private limited, this thing, GST number is there, but GST has not been mentioned, something of that kind. When you see, basically, I see a lot of things coming basic when the people claim LTA. We know that's where major problem occurs because the documents or the declarations are forged over there, or the proofs are forged over there. That we are all aware of it. Like if it's flight declaration, probably you ask for the boarding pass, you ask for the tickets. And see, if you're not coming from IT sector, but if it's other sector, then what happens at times in your company, when you are on TA, it is important for you to be on holiday. So whether it's not in the days or not here, he was on holiday or not, all this checking, you have to be vigilant enough for that matter. You just can't say as an employee, he has declared, I have taken a declaration, he has signed and given him, and I have blindly relied on the proofs what they have given. That cannot be done because you have been cast by a lawful duty on you. So you have to be vigilant enough. But how far you can go? If somebody has forged that PDF, you have given all the proofs and so on. But still, are you a detective to go and find it out? Answer is no to that. So you can't be that. But you have to be vigilant. And what a person of like normal, what care he will take to verify the documents and this thing, which you'll have to definitely do it as an employer. There's no other choice. In fact, you have no other option for that matter. Otherwise, you will be under the legal obligations there.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that answer. We'll just take a couple of more questions and we'll, end the session. But in any case, if any of your question goes unanswered or you have more questions after the webinar, you can always
I missed the second part of it, whether AI can be helpful in this. Answer is obviously yes, AI can be helpful. There will be means and ways how you can check it out, whether the documents is genuine, it's forged or something of that definitely can be done. I was mentioning about LTA. Nowadays, what new thing is coming is when you do an HRA, you need to, after over and above certain limit, what happens is you are supposed to give the PAN number of the landlord for that matter. So I would suggest as a matter of practice, you can make a policy in your organization that it is done from the single penny. So that habit or that culture is built or imbibed into the particular company for that matter. And AIs can definitely be helpful over here. How it will be helpful, what we can do it, it is still to unfold and future will tell us about that.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I hope that answers the question, Kamlesh, for you. As I was saying that I see some questions coming up. We'll try to take as many as we can as we are reaching the end of today's session. But in case you have any more questions left, if you want to connect with Sanjay, we will be sharing this webinar's recording as well as Sanjay's credentials with you. It is also displayed on the screen right now. So you can directly connect with Sanjay or you can email your questions to me and we'll get the responses for you. I'll also be sharing a knowledge sharing platform with you just in another couple minutes. You can connect with us there as well. Okay, so one question is from Vanita. How are bonuses and commissions factored into a payroll?
It's just like any other component, how you are factoring it. See, because I understand, I believe this, how I understand this query is, your question is to the fact that bonuses come once in a while or yearly once. For the majority of the industry, it's yearly once. So what happens is whenever there is that increase or something is happening, you have to factor that into your payroll. You'll have to enter in it. As I told, tools are available today, which will capture that, which will take into consideration. and accordingly compute that and recompute the taxes for that matter. So you will have to take any variable which come into your payroll processing. You have to similarly take this commissions and bonuses that way.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Next question is from Kushal. Two questions are there. I think you're going to give the same response as you did before, but which is the best platform for FBP and which is the best platform for multi-country payroll, if you want to suggest any?
Asian countries, if you are looking at, no further comments. I have already told.
Yes.
Anything Europe and US, there are various being available. Like in US, you have STED for that matter. European nations, you have ADPs for that matter. So that can be looked up. And it also depends on your scale and your pocket for that matter.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for that. And we have covered most of the questions. So we'll be ending the session now. But let me quickly share some email IDs with you where you can connect with us if you have still any more questions pending. Also, please feel free to share any comments for us, any feedback. How did you like the session? Any special comment for Sanjay in the Q&A option? And it would, motivate us to do and come up with more engaging sessions with you in the future. So as you can see, this is the greytHR community. It's a knowledge sharing platforms where we have HR experts, CA professionals like Sanjay who can guide you with your queries. You can sign up to this community today and get your queries answered. And also, as promised, this recording will be available on our official YouTube channel. So you can watch this webinar there also. The presentation, all the knowledge nuggets that Sanjay shared today, you can refresh your memory there. And we will also be sharing an email with you once we have that. And it will have Sanjay's credentials. If you want to directly get in touch with Sanjay, you can do that. Also, if you have any questions for us related to HRMS as well, this is our WhatsApp QR code. You can scan it right now and you can connect with us on WhatsApp as well. We are available there and we would be happy to help you. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And special thanks to you, Sanjay, for taking out the time and doing this insightful presentation.
Thank you, Rakhi, and thank you, greytHR, for providing me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.